Good evening. We will call to order the regular meeting for the Sonoma City Council of Wednesday, May the 1st, 2024. And please silence your cell phones if you should have one available. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you. Madam Acting Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lowe.
Here.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Here.
Councilmember Wellander.
Here.
Councilmember Ding.
Here.
Mayor Gurney.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. We held a closed session before this session, and it was labor negotiations concerning executive staff,
City manager,
city manager,
and the performance evaluation.
and performance evaluation. Thank you very
And
much.
there was no reportable action.
And there is no reportable action. Yeah, there's an echo in here, actually. All right. Approval of the agenda. And before I take a motion, I'd like to suggest there's a time constraint on one of our proclamation recipients. And I'd like to move the presentations of the proclamations up before we begin comments. All right, thank you. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I approve as amended. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right, I understand Shelley Ryan is here. Shelley? Hi. Please come up to the podium and let me present this first, and then we will have an opportunity to hear from you. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, May 6th through May 10th, 2024 is proclaimed National Teacher Appreciation Week. And you are a teacher, is that correct? May 7th, 2024 is National Teacher Appreciation Day. And whereas the educated citizenry serves as the very foundation of our democracy, and whereas today's teachers mold the minds and train the workforce of the future, and whereas no other profession touches as many persons with such a lasting effect, and whereas it is appropriate for school districts, parents, public officials, and the community to recognize the dedication and commitment of teachers who are educating our children. So now, therefore, I, John Gurney, Mayor of the City of Sonoma, do hereby recognize and wishes to honor the contributions of all teachers to the quality education in the state of California and in the Sonoma Valley Unified School District, and I declare the week of May 6th through May 10th, 2024 as National Teacher Appreciation Week, and Tuesday, May 7th, 2024 is National Teacher Appreciation Day. And before I bring this down and present it to you, I just want you to know that we have a council member, former teacher, and my wife also was a former teacher at the high school, and I can appreciate the work that you do, and it really, really, with a lot of gratitude, is appreciated. All right? Need a Kodak moment here. Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
I'll just say. So I wanted to thank you so much for honoring your local public school teachers. This is a rewarding and challenging career. It is an honor to teach your children and give back to our community. I can say this as a teacher and even more so as a mom. We have some hardworking educators here, and it's an absolute honor and privilege to be recognized by our own community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I have one more proclamation. Last but not least. So, this is a proclamation announcing the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week to be May 5th through May 11th, 2024. And Professional Municipal Clerk is a time-honored and vital part of local government that exists throughout the world. The office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among the public servants, and the office of the Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And the Municipal Clerk serves as the information center on the functions of local government and community, and municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful in their neutrality, impartiality, rendering equal services to all. And municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of their affairs, of the office, and through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. It is most important that we recognize the accomplishments of this office, and I, John Gurney, Mayor of Sonoma, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to not only all the professional municipal clerks, but our very own Municipal Clerk Rebecca Barr and Deputy City Clerk Monique Burns. And you guys keep us out of trouble. We love it. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, who's going to take Monique's picture?
I'm confused.
All right. Other duties as assigned. There we go.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. So we will go back to the standing agenda. And the first item on the agenda is comments from the public. And these comments are on items that are not otherwise on the agenda. And please approach the podium, speaking in the microphone, start by stating and spelling your name. And how many people are going to be speaking this evening? Okay. Well, in light of that, with the council's approval, I think what we will do is reduce the 3-minute timeline to 2 minutes. Is that reasonable? Yeah. All right. Thank you. Then we will do that. Mr. Ruderman, was that? I saw your hand rise, as I thought.
No.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So public comment is open.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Wyrick Carlamagno. Do you want me to spell that?
Please.
CLAIREWIRICK
Common spelling. Thank you.
I'm daughter to Brian Wyrick and Luann Carlamagno, granddaughter to Ann Wyrick, Wayne Wyrick, Raymond Carlamagno, and Caroline Carlamagno. It's important for you to know that my bloodline partially does descend from Lebanon. My family has been coming to Sonoma since the early 1900s and have resided here since 1930. I've called this my home since I was born here in Sonoma Valley Hospital in 1989, so 34 years ago. Unfortunately, it's so totally bizarre to me that this beautiful, safe, and idyllic town has such a hard time considering or admitting how necessary a ceasefire in Gaza is at this time and has been for many months now. This is a local issue. I know some of you believe a resolution is not the solution, or it doesn't do much in terms of helping people in Gaza. And I'm here to tell you that I hope you may take some time to just reconsider that. Sonoma County is home to not only a vibrant community of people, it is also home to weapon manufacturers who provide weapons to the state of Israel, and also call Sonoma their home. Again, this is a local issue. Sonomans of all ages do not want our tax dollars to fund our government endless wars and exorbitant military budget. We are all seeing Palestinian people have to film and document their own mothers, sisters, brothers, and children being killed. Is that time? Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does the buzzer go on after I spell my name? My name is Mike Smith, M-I-K-E-S-M-I-T-H, and I have lived in the Valley for 50 years, and I've been involved politically. I think there's a lot of information you've already got concerning content. I want to speak to the issue of the council being the town council, the town meeting historically for the people. There has never been a formal ban on talking about outside issues. It all boiled down to practicality. Count the votes. If the progressives had 3, it might pass. If the conservatives had 2, it might not. And Ken Brown, Steve Barbos, and Larry Barnett voted to ban the Patriot Act. A while later, I tried to get when the mix of the council changed, I wanted to pass a resolution about the war in Iraq. It didn't go. So there's nothing to prevent you from putting it on the council. I want to hear what you believe. If you have something to say against it, then come out. This issue is really important to the people of our area. It's my experience that there's wide support for this. The whole issue of what's to happen in Gaza is up in the air. Biden could stop it in 2 minutes if he wanted to. Obama did that, and so did Eisenhower, and so did Clinton. Speaker Pelosi has come out to stop sending the bombs, so it's a wide open field. I have the impression, counting the faces on here, that we might have a sympathetic board, but I at least want to get an opportunity to hear what you have to say.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
All right.
Hello, my name is Casper Bowling, Kasperbolling. I'm a senior at SVHS, and as you know, I'm here asking you to pass a ceasefire resolution, or at least add it to the agenda so we can have an open discussion with you folks that addresses your hesitations or any issues that you have, and we can work through them together. Before I continue, I would like you to look around this room and notice the demographic shift in people who are attending here today. I want you to notice that the people here are significantly younger and significantly more diverse than you would usually see. They are the people who will be inheriting this town and its government, its values, its actions, and its elections. They are here because you do not represent them. Here you see some of the faces of the students that you are failing. For weeks, you have heard from and not responded to Arab Americans, Jewish Americans, and people who are directly impacted by this conflict, and who are explicitly asking you to use your elected power to even just acknowledge their pain, and you have been unable to do so. I try very hard at these meetings to keep my emotions in check and not let them severely distort my words, but I am genuinely at a loss for words at this time. And so I just want to tell you about a man who you may not know. Rifat al-Arir was a Palestinian poet who was killed in December of 2023 by an Israeli airstrike. He wrote the famous poem, "If I Must Die," to his eldest daughter. The poem goes, "If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left it ablaze and bid no one farewell, not even his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale." 5 days ago, Rafat's daughter was murdered in an Israeli airstrike, and I want to know what we are actually doing here.
Thank you.
We have one and the same, but can we have 4 minutes as we're 2 people?
No. One at a time is fine.
Okay, I'll just go 3. My name is Juliana MacDonald, JulianaMacDonald. I'm here to speak on behalf of the student organizers at the Sonoma State University Solidarity Encampment for Gaza. We have been out there for 6 days. 6 days of tireless work, organizing, outreach, and fear. 6 days of wondering when we will be attacked. 6 days of silence from our administration. Our demands are not complicated. We refuse to be complicit in genocide and the fascist imperialist structures of our university administration. We will not fund nor profit from genocide, and I will make it clear for those of you who continue to deny it, this is a genocide, undeniably. Not a conflict, not a war. We demand a permanent ceasefire. We demand a permanent end to the siege on Palestinians. We demand you do your part to end this occupation because it is your responsibility.
My name is Madeline Jaramillo, Madyline Jaramillo. As students, we continually put our safety on the line. We put our academics, our livelihoods on the line for Gaza, to end the genocide and the occupation. It should never take violence against students to mobilize administration and leaders. Ever. You should be ashamed that it has come to this case. In order to protect students, as leaders claim to do, you must recognize this genocide and call for a permanent ceasefire. Until our demands are met, we will stand powerfully. We will not back down. So-called neutral students and community members are feeling the compression of their silence. We want them to understand that the conditioning we have been raised in and the layers of privilege we carry are the places we need to investigate. To the community that stands for a permanent ceasefire and to those that recognize this undeniable genocide, we see you. Do not let them silence you. Leaders capitalize upon silence. They rely upon the systemic oppression, alienation, and silencing of people to build their regimes. Do not give up your voice.
Good evening. I'm Pete Saibene, Saibene, and I'm here tonight because I want to briefly say something about the East Napa bumps that were put in. And I think they're both a hazard and a nuisance, but I know there's reasons for doing it. I know the council did the best job they could. I know the Traffic Safety Committee probably did, I'm sure they did the best job they could. But take a look at what is happening. I've gone over there just to see. I don't live very far away from there, and I've gone over to see speed bumps or hump bumps are in, and I've observed some things that really bother me. Today, 3 cars going west. The middle car didn't go over the bumps, pulled out over the double lane, back in. It's just one thing after another. I saw one other time when I was observing it, go off to the cemetery side to try to pass it up. Take a look at it. It's not an easy job that you have. And I didn't follow it. I didn't know this was happening. I happened to be on that road one day, and I found out what was there. And, you know, as I said, it's a nuisance and a hazard, really. The people that are those lots that haven't been developed is going to be interesting, because if that's permanent and not temporary, they're going to have all that noise of vehicles going over it and stuff like that. So, you know, all I'm asking is that, you know, you take a look. If it was a speeding problem, then it really should be enforced. It should have a speed limit that's correct for the road, and it should be enforced. And I know various people who live on that street, and I understand their concerns. I spent 5 years on a traffic safety committee in San Bruno, so I'm aware of what the public wants and what you can do to satisfy their needs. It's not easy. Again, it's not easy. So I'm only here to say, do the best thing you can. Take a very close look at it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Fortunately, the people that needed to hear that are here as well, so thank you.
My name is Maximilian Campos, Maximillian Campos. I am a senior at Sonoma Valley High School, and I want the Sonoma City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution now. We understand that your influence over this issue is limited. We ask you to pass this resolution to represent the many citizens who feel as though they have no voice in this matter. As 7 months have passed since the beginning of this conflict, the public grow less and less tolerant of our government's unwavering support of Israel's crusade in the Gaza Strip. 34,000 Palestinians have been killed, and there seems to be no end in sight for this massacre. As students around the nation are violently suppressed by their own government for exercising their freedom of speech and protest, local students become more and more disillusioned with this conflict, wondering why we're even involved and have such strong support for it. Around our campus, I've experienced rapidly developing support for ceasefire in our community and overwhelming empathy for those in Palestine who have been deliberately starved and systematically murdered. It is clear that to truly represent our community and your constituents, you must pass this ceasefire resolution to advocate for the end of Israeli attacks on citizens, hospitals, infrastructure, and especially to prevent the invasion of Rafah, Gaza's most densely populated city. Please pass this ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex Garcia, and I am a resident of Sonoma and a concerned citizen and voter. Right now, students and teachers at hundreds of schools across America are protesting against genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. You may ask yourself, why are college students so invested in this cause? Because the U.S. government, from the president on down, is showing that they hold the lives of Israeli and Zionists above their own U.S. citizens. These students have grown up being subjected to mass shootings in schools and public places, with no movement by legislators to make their country safer. They are in debt, they are dealing with inflation, little to no option for owning property. They pay thousands for health care, thousands to eat, thousands in taxes. And the police that are paid to serve and protect are beating students and teachers for exercising their right to free speech, right to protest, and the right to assemble. They are watching this planet burn while fossil fuel executives give themselves bonuses. These students realize they can't count on the adults in charge to do the right thing. They are taking matters into their own hands. They are not only brave, their actions should make you feel something inside to inspire you to change from within. Lastly, the phrase, no taxation without representation. The Boston Tea Party occurred due to a 3% tea tax. The U.S. government sends $15 billion in military and economic aid to Israel, and U.S. taxpayers do not get a say if those weapons and money are used to murder civilians. So I urge the council to vote for a ceasefire measure, to stand on the right side of history, and to send a message of hope to the leaders of tomorrow, our students, our faculty, the people that are fighting for our constitutional rights. Thank you, and good night.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Richard Holsworth, and I'm a Sonoman who would like you to pass a ceasefire resolution. I was going to stop at that, but I might give some background because I'm here. My dad and I were both firefighters for a total of 64 years. As first responders, we came upon sudden death. And It's an ugly thing to think that close to 40,000 sudden deaths have occurred in Gaza over the past 7 months since October 7th, most of them women and children. I thank the young people for getting up and for putting their lives, they shouldn't have to put their lives on the line, but you see the violence at UCLA last night against peaceful, encamped demonstrators. Tear gas and flames were set upon by people who didn't agree with them and didn't agree with their opportunity to say it. So I just wanted to say we old people care too. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hi, my name's Beth Hadley, Bethhadley. I have lived in Sonoma for over 40 years, and some of you know I'm the president of our local Democratic club, the Sonoma Valley Democrats. However, I want to just clarify quickly that our club has not yet discussed or voted on this issue of the ceasefire resolution. So I'm not here to represent our local club. Excuse me, I'm here to represent myself. And I'm also a member of the Sonoma County Democratic Party Central Committee, and they did pass a resolution on November 14th, 2023, and I would like to read it. Whereas we support the right of the peoples of Israel and of Palestine to live in peace and harmony, and whereas Hamas committed a horrendous war crime by killing over the reported 1,200 to 1,400 innocent civilians and abducting over 200 on October 7th, and whereas this was in mid-November 2023, it is widely reported that Netanyahu's government has killed over 15,000 civilians, destroyed or damaged a quarter of all the housing in Gaza, cut off water, food, fuel, and electricity to over 2 million people, and left all the hospitals without medicines and fuel to operate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Sonoma County Democratic Party calls on Netanyahu's government, Hamas, and the U.S. and all other countries to strive to work for the immediate cessation of hostilities and the release of hostages and cease supplying offensive arms to the belligerents. And be it further resolved that we call for the immediate release of all hostages and upon the International Criminal Court in The Hague to investigate the belligerents for war crimes. So I ask you please to at least put this on the agenda and discuss it. I realize it's a very emotional issue, but we need to talk about it and come to some kind of decision. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marty Bennett, and I have resided at 19167A Robinson Road in the city for nearly 30 years. I am speaking on behalf of Unite Here Local 2, which just organized 275 workers at the Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn. I am also a delegate to the North Bay Labor Council, which represents 70 unions with a membership of more than 70,000 in Marin, Sonoma, Mendocino, and Lake counties. I speak on behalf of that organization as well. The entire U.S. labor movement has called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. I urge the Council to join over 100 cities nationwide that have adopted ceasefire resolutions. The AFL-CIO, the national parent organization that represents 60 national and international unions and 12 million workers, has approved a ceasefire resolution. Both Unite Here International and my local have approved ceasefire resolutions. The North Bay Labor Council approved a resolution that states, "We mourn the loss of life in Israel and Palestine. We express our solidarity with all workers and our shared desire for enduring peace in Palestine and Israel." The Labor Council recommends the AFL-CIO urge Congress to call for 1, an immediate and permanent ceasefire, 2, an immediate safe return of all hostages held by Hamas and Israel, 3, the rapid entry of humanitarian assistance to Gaza, including food, water, and medical supplies. 4, the end to the supply of offensive weapons to Israel by the U.S. The North Bay Labor Council urges our congressional representatives, Jared Huffman and Mike Thompson, to support a ceasefire, and for local jurisdictions to adopt ceasefire resolutions. Finally, public opinion surveys indicate that most Americans support a ceasefire. According to the February 2024 Data for Progress poll, 67% support an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Thank you, and please agendize and support a ceasefire resolution.
Good evening, members of the City Council and staff. My name is Fred Allebach, Allebach. I would also suggest that this gets put on the agenda, and procedurally, I think today someone can suggest at the end of the meeting to have an urgency item on the agenda, and then you can vote to see if it would be on the agenda, or else possibly the mayor would go to ask if it would be on an agenda. So there are pathways to do it, but somebody has to step up and say, could we put this on the agenda? Then you get 3 votes, and then it would be agendized at some point, hopefully in the near future. I would like to say that in an egregious series of tit-for-tat violence in the Middle East over many years, it's not unreasonable to call for a ceasefire. That's completely reasonable. And so I would suggest that the council make a resolution to support peace in the Middle East, call for a ceasefire, resolve to ask for unfettered humanitarian aid, and that all hostages be released. There's a pathway that you can do this that you can feel good about, and I think that you could probably take that if you wanted to. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and staff members. My name is Julian Mendez, JULIANMENDEZ. And I'm also here to support a ceasefire resolution on the agenda. And I would like to highlight what the human rights group, what the Israeli human rights group, B'Tselem, recently posted. It says, Israel and Hamas must reach a deal. This is not a zero-sum game. A ceasefire is crucial for the people of Gaza, who have endured 7 months of hell under constant bombardments, and for the families of the hostages who have been advocating tirelessly for their loved ones not to be abandoned or used as war pawns. Netanyahu's recent statement vowing to invade Rafah, quote, with or without, end quote, threatens the lives of over 1 million Palestinians currently taking shelter in Rafah, the last quote-unquote safe zone in Gaza, as well as puts the Israeli hostages at risk. We urgently call for a ceasefire and a hostage deal to prevent further bloodshed and devastation in what is already a humanitarian catastrophe of unfathomable proportions. I would also like to highlight the French organization Doctors Without Borders, also known as MSF, who have doctors in Gaza on the ground, whose staff have been attacked by the Israeli army. And Doctors Without Borders on their website calls for an immediate and sustained ceasefire. Attacks against hospitals and civilians must stop immediately, and unhindered access to humanitarian aid must be ensured. Israeli authorities must lift the inhumane and unlawful siege and allow humanitarian organizations to provide life-saving care safely and without impediments. The aid flowing into Gaza has been negligible compared to the immense needs. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Celine King, CELINEKING. As I'm sure you have heard, over the last 10 days, encampments in solidarity with people of Palestine have popped up at dozens of universities nationwide, including Sonoma State. These encampments are demanding university disclose and divest from companies with financial ties to Israel because of its perpetuation of a genocide on the Palestinian people, with the civilian death toll reaching a devastating 34,000 Palestinian people, of whom 72% are women and children. In the 1960s, similar anti-war protests erupted at universities nationwide, contributing to a shift in public opinion against the invasion of Cambodia during the highly controversial Vietnam War. Throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, university protesters set up encampments demanding divestment from apartheid South Africa, and they succeeded. Columbia was the first Ivy League to divest, and the UC Regents Board soon followed suit. The reason I bring up our nation's history with anti-war and anti-apartheid university protests is to set the current movements in historical context. The majority of U.S. citizens call for a ceasefire, and the young people of this nation are moved to resistance because of their horror at Israel's siege on Palestinian civilians. I'm here to urge you to please listen to the voices of our youth who, when reflecting on our nation's history, have been hailed as brave contributors to dismantling our complicity in oppressive wars and regimes. Our local community has come together over the last 10 days, and we have collected over 300 signatures urging the City Council to adopt our ceasefire resolution. The City of Sonoma has stood against the Vietnam War, and now is the time to call for an end to the murder of civilians with U.S. federal tax dollars. Please look to the young people in this room today who have come and told you what we need and what our community is begging you for, and put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda. Please and thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Gurney, members of the council, staff, esteemed members of the community who are here tonight. I'm Tom Conlon. I'm addressing you tonight as an individual resident of the unincorporated proverbial Bantustans to the north of your city. Happy May Day. It's been beautiful outside lately, hasn't it? Please forgive me if my allusion to apartheid-era South Africa is unsettling. But with all the turmoil on our campuses in the news lately, I've been researching and reflecting on how our campuses, on how that student-instigated protest movement was handled back when I was in college, what it achieved, and how strikingly different what we see unfolding throughout our country today. I just read through an oral history transcript of the police field lieutenant who was coordinating the UC Berkeley police response to those student protests back in the spring and summer of 1985. I was struck by his wise comments about the need to give the students adequate space and security to express their concerns, and how doing so was necessary to ensure that the institution continued to function and to achieve its mission. He was justifiably proud that for the most part, no classes had to be canceled, no buildings were closed, commencements went forward as planned, significant property was not destroyed, and most importantly, everyone stayed safe. Obviously, the people who have called in the police to shut down so many campuses over these past few days have clearly forgotten the lessons of past conflicts. Elites are failing to lead wisely and over-relying on the use of force, so it should be no surprise that tempers are flaring and the violence has begun. I have longer comments, but I will pass over just to simply say, I encourage you, as Mr. Allebach suggested, to direct your city manager to draft a resolution that can get us beyond this impasse and this waste of your time and mine. Sincerely, thank you.
Hi, my name is Ava Bolger, Abolger. I'm a Sonoma resident, and I'm demanding a permanent ceasefire in Palestine. Every day that we don't take action against the continued violence in Gaza and the surrounding areas, the lives of innocent Palestinian civilians are lost. The United States government is funding these atrocities, and to not act now is staying complicit in the face of a genocide. This is my first time paying taxes, and honestly, it's been really upsetting knowing my money is going towards murder. The more U.S. towns, cities, and states that call for a ceasefire push the federal government towards choosing to do the right thing and show the true thoughts and values of American citizens, the ideals of morality, human rights, and nonviolence. We may be a small town, but we are a loving and close-knit community, and we can be a part of the change. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Iris Lombard, Iris, Lombard, and I'm here to urge you to pass a resolution, or to at least consider a resolution to halt the violence in Israel and Gaza. a ceasefire is the way forward. One thing besides the death that appalls me is the destruction of the infrastructure, the crops, hospitals in Gaza. That's all going to have to be rebuilt. No matter if the Israelis take it over, it's all going to have to be rebuilt. That's environmental destruction in a world that really cannot manage this anymore. We need peaceful solutions to conflicts. And I urge you to consider and to pass a ceasefire resolution in Gaza. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Ariel Mihic, Ariel Mihic. I'm a resident here on the unceded lands of the Coast Miwok people, colonially known as Sonoma. I was trying to think of what to prepare to speak to you about today. Lots of times I take a lot of notes, bring a lot of statistics. I feel like we have said all of these things to you before, and there's still no movement. I don't know what it's going to take for this group of people here to take some action to put the ceasefire on the agenda. I thought I'd speak to you about what I see on social media. Maybe you're not on it. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you haven't been on TikTok or on Instagram and seen what we have all seen and witnessed. I'm sure you've heard about the protest at Columbia. Have you seen that they've renamed it Hind Hall? And Hind is a 6-year-old child who was murdered by the IOF. She was in a car with her family members. They got a call out to say, we are surrounded by tanks, by Israeli forces. The Palestinian Red Crescent sent in people to help her. An ambulance came. They were killed by the 3 tanks that were there, and then they later found Hind's, the 6-year-old girl's body, dead in the car with her family members. And this has been corroborated by Al Jazeera. It's not just random rogue reports. This is happening. I saw the image this morning that I woke up to was a child literally taking their last breath. They're in a field hospital in Rafah because all of the Palestinians were told to go there, that that's the safe zone. And this child is shown taking their last breath and dying in a field hospital. We are paying for that to happen. And if you aren't seeing that, like, I don't know what's going to move you guys. Like, you sit up here with these stone cold faces and there's atrocities happening in Gaza, in Palestine. Everybody is standing up in the US, in California, in San Francisco, all the other cities in California are passing resolutions, and we can't even get it on the agenda. It is appalling. It is an embarrassment. Put this on the agenda, a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
I am Clayton Cartosian, Clayton Cartosian. I advocate for peace in general, and I support oppressed people in general. That's why I'm here. And I'm also here because my Armenian ancestors were fortunate enough to escape the Armenian genocide. My grandfather, as a matter of fact, I know I might not seem old enough for that to be possible, but that's the facts. So it's very close to me. These poor people in Gaza, they don't have that option to escape. They can't escape. You can't get out of Gaza. It's the world's largest concentration camp. So I would love for my hometown, the city of Sonoma, to support the ceasefire. Thank you.
If you're interested in speaking, if you could line up at the back of the room as well, that would be helpful to move this along.
Tanya Marsh.
Tanyamarsh, almost 20 years as a parent and a resident here. And since we're still trying to see how this is a local issue that demands your immediate attention, we have college students here that attend Sonoma State, San Francisco State, Stanford universities, as just a few of over the 100 universities globally who I expect you have seen, have taken a stand for peace, standing against genocide and the illegal occupation of Palestine by Zionist white supremacists armed with nuclear arsenal, fully funded, completely unchecked by our government. College students have been doing active shooter drills since kindergarten, and I don't know if you can even imagine what that would do to you as a child. So then they see police not defending children when shooters come into the schools. They see police brutally attacking Black and brown community members. They see politicians talking about arming teachers for kids' safety, and they see our government fighting for a woman's own right to be able to choose for herself while not providing health care, affordable housing, healthy, affordable food, or free education. And while we have more people unhoused than ever before, our government willingly sends billions more to continue to fund a genocide. And the students see this, and many firsthand see what's happening in Palestine because they have their own families and friends who live there through the attacks, and they can't leave Gaza because of the illegal occupation by Zionists. So we're really going to turn around and say that the students don't know what they're talking about. It's just maddening. They studied the history that we provided them. They see through the lies, and now because they're standing up against those lies and brutality, police forces are being called in to violently arrest them. Police that we pay for with our tax dollars. So not only do our tax dollars go for funding weapons against our will, they also pay for the police to violently attack our college students, our children, because they're bravely standing up for peace. Just like during Vietnam, students were on the right side of history then, and they are on the right side of history now. And the inability to bring a ceasefire resolution up for discussion is appalling, and it shows you lack humanity to be in a position you're holding.
Sorry to interrupt, but your time is up. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm afraid for the future of our humanity
Thank you.
with leaders like you.
Seth Donnelly, Donnelly, a Sonoma resident. My father, John Donnelly, also sent in comments. He couldn't be here tonight. But, I've met multiple times before. And when I look at here, we're a community, right? I mean, our elected officials, we're a community, and I mean that from the heart. What's more important than as a community stopping genocide? It's certainly not a new hotel or parking issues. This is a local issue, as has been shown many, many times. It's not about anti-Semitism. The people are rising up all over the country because they see genocide for what it is. Every major human rights organization in the world is speaking out on this, from Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Occupied Territories issued a report, Anatomy of a Genocide, laying out that this is genocide happening in real time. That is the most important element is our tax dollars. We cannot rely on the U.S. government at the federal level to stop this. All they do is send more weapons. That's why the students are occupying. The universities, the federal government is not doing their job. So it comes to us as a community, our grassroots democracy, what's left of it, to say, let's create a bottom-up pressure together, our community. Clearly we represent a majority in this county. There's no doubt about that. Let's work together, not in an adversarial way. Let's work together and let's get this passed. Progressive Jews all over the country are leading these protests, along with Palestinian brothers and sisters. This is not anti-Semitism. That is a vulgar way to prevent us from moving forward. That kind of scaremongering. We need to work together, and we need to make it happen tonight. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Victoria Hernandez, VICTORIA-HERNANDEZ, and I am a senior at Sonoma Valley High School. I am here today to implore the Sonoma City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution. Cities all across the Bay Area and the world, such as Richmond and Cotati, have already called for a ceasefire in Palestine. What we are currently seeing in Palestine is a genocide. It is a significant turning point in history. Public opinion is shifting very strongly, very rapidly in support of a ceasefire, especially in Sonoma. You all, Sonoma City Council members, have the ability to pass a ceasefire and represent the needs of your constituents. I work with a wide range of communities in Sonoma. I'm Sonoma Valley High's student voice, aka the equivalent of ASB president and school district student board member. I'm also the 2023 Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club of Sonoma Valley. I am the 2023 Youth of the Year of Northern California, amongst other things. Having worked with and for countless of local nonprofits, organizations, people, groups, and committees, I can confidently say that there is a very, very clear support of a ceasefire in Sonoma Valley. As student voice, I sit on a board representing Sonoma Valley constituents, as you all. We all know that in Sonoma it can be somewhat difficult at times to get such big of a crowd to come and give public comment. If you could all take a look around the room today, we represent a wide range of backgrounds. Support cannot be more evident. To the Sonoma City Council, your constituents of Sonoma Valley implore you to call for a ceasefire. Thank you.
My name is Patricia Barakat, Patricia Barakat, and I'm new to Sonoma. It's taken me many years to get here, but I wanted to be here for this time in my life. I live here and work here now, and I'm asking you please to consider passing the ceasefire. I ask you all to look deeply into your own humanity and see where it lives in you. Thank you.
Hi, Council. My name is Lauren Kirshner. That's Laurenkershner, and I'm here today to urge you for the City of Sonoma to pass a ceasefire resolution. I'm a member of this body, the City of Sonoma's Cultural and Fine Arts Commission, and an integral and very active member of our business and nonprofit community here. We rely on our local government to be our voice on up from the county to district to the state and federal levels, and I urge you to be on the right side of history on this one, please. Thank you.
Hello, City Council. My name is Jeremy Marquardt, Jeremymarquardt, and I was going to tell you just about how wide support for a ceasefire is, but I think you can, with your eyes, can see just the whole community around us. But let me just give you some statistics just to, help you all out. So, from a recent survey from back in February, 2/3 of Americans support a ceasefire. Now, this turns to 74% of people when you include the phrase, including the release of hostages, which the ceasefire resolution that we have made and have sent to all of you, which you should have all have read at least once, includes that. So let me just go over just a little bit of details about what that means for Sonoma, and these are going to be on the low end for statistics. That means that out of the 7,650 registered voters, you would have around 5,661 people who would support a ceasefire. Out of the whole town of Sonoma, that is around 7,947, and out of the whole Sonoma urban area, that's around 24,182 people who would support a ceasefire resolution. And these, again, are lowball numbers. These are conservative numbers. Now, with that, there is a wide support. You have a popular mandate to enact a ceasefire resolution. And with the recent petition that we have created, that it's been, unless it hasn't been circulating for 2 weeks yet, has over 300 signatures with it. That is popular mandate. You have the responsibility to act upon your constituents, upon the people who live here. That's it.
I'm Jeff Jackson, Jackson, maybe one of the newest Sonoma residents. I'm really happy to be here and see the future of Sonoma standing up like this. And I'm just curious, as a new resident, I heard there were 2 people already on the city council who supported a ceasefire. I don't mean for you to raise your hands right now, but I'm really curious with 100% of the people in the audience supporting a ceasefire so far. That seems to be democratic representation of 100% of your votes. So thank you for voting for a ceasefire.
Good evening. I guess I better pull this down a little bit, being the shortest person in the room. My name is Sarah Lawrence, SarahLawrence. I'm new to Sonoma, and it's heaven on earth here. I love it. But, you know, as I was driving over, I remember driving to a Vietnam Street meeting years ago. I've been in this fight for all of my life. For some reason, God gave me this overweening sense of justice. And justice is not being served in Gaza now. The people of Gaza are civilians, they're innocent, they're women and children, and we have the right to speak up. You have the responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, to do it. I encourage you to get some spine and have a message from Sonoma that says, we're against this war.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Simone Grassoff, SimoneGrasshoff, and I've been living in Sonoma for about 12 years, and I inherited a house from my grandmother, who was here so the total time that our family has been here has been about 40 years. She was half Jewish, living in Nazi Germany, and I grew up with stories about how horrible war is in general, and that she wouldn't wish that on anyone. And we have seen from social media, from the news, this is a horrible, horrible war. It is completely imbalanced, and it needs to stop. And I hope that the town that I live in and call home can adopt a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zach Roth, Zachroth. I'm 19. I've lived here since I was 2 years old. And, well, a few weeks ago, I woke up, opened my phone, and the first image I saw was a man's dead body. Now, this is a little graphic, but the way he died was he was murdered by a tank. He was run over. I can't imagine how awful that it's indescribable. But as I'm now 19, and a lot of other people here are around my age in this room, our tax money is going to be funding that genocide and those awful murders that we don't have a choice in. And this is the way we have to fight for what we believe in. So I implore you to at least think about passing a ceasefire, or at least putting it on the agenda. Please, this is what many of the people around my age and in this town believe in, and not just this town, this country believe in. So please, I implore you, that would mean a lot to not only me, but everyone here. Please help us stop this.
Before you start my time, can I submit our petition? I'm just submitting the petition. This is a petition that we've spent just 10 days on. My name is Maria Barakat, Barakat. I live in Sonoma. I am Lebanese, Palestinian, and American. I am devastated every day that we sit here while bombs are dropped on our siblings in Gaza. This is not the only unjust war happening right now. This is one that is happening before our eyes with the most volume and the most ferocity and the most U.S. tax dollar support in history. Every day that we sit here and every minute that we sit here, bombs are being dropped on children, men and women. We're not going anywhere, not here in this town, but in this movement. I think that you can see that just since we started coming here, this is only gaining strength and bravery. People are only waking up more. We are lagging just devastatingly behind other places, other locales, other villages. We are behind the times, standing up for justice. Sonoma is behind. Other cities have already begun divesting from Israel state. The state of Israel, Richmond City on Monday passed a divestment resolution. More and more, over 60 universities have encampments on them. University of California, San Diego began its today. We're not going anywhere, it's only getting bigger. Why is this? Are we insane? Is 77% of the American public insane? 77% of American Democrats want a ceasefire, want the U.S. to stop what's happening, to halt weapons. Even Nancy Pelosi. We're all insane? Even Nancy Pelosi? Even Bernie Sanders? We're all insane? We are behind.
My name is Sabina Cesar, Sabina-Cesar. I live in Sonoma for the last 10 years. And I can agree with most everything everybody has said before me. We can also agree that the events of that fateful October were atrocious. But one atrocity does not justify another atrocity. And what is called a war now is not any longer a war. It is a total attempt to eradicate everything culturally and locally in any way, eradicate Gaza and the people within it. 33,000 women, mostly women and children, have been killed so far as of the last tally. And the government of Netanyahu is thumbing their combined noses at the Biden regime and all his attempts to appease or to talk about moderation. They're ignoring everything that has been suggested so far. And I think we should urge our government to divest itself of supplying bombs. And if that doesn't work, maybe cut the money. That normally hurts and that normally gets results. So I think it's a moral obligation for this board to seriously consider passing this resolution. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nico Karmer, and although I'm not extremely educated on this subject, I look back on when I was a child. Since 5th grade, my mother knew the importance of knowing history. Since I was so young, 10 years old, I was watching documentaries about how students would protest against the Vietnam War, how people would support World War II in their homes, how even, mothers would go, the whole We Can Do It thing. One thing I consistently asked myself as a kid was, oh my God, to have something like that happen, and you're like at home reading the news, seeing this, it was impossible to comprehend. And now that it's happening, and now that we aren't, acting the way we used to, I'm not the biggest patriot, but the American people, we have spirit. It's disturbing, and especially since it's our government that is supporting this genocide. I mean, it's disturbing. And to see that it's our government this time, before the violence towards like the students in, what's it called? Vietnam. That was not the police. That was supporters of Nixon. And to see that now it is police that are attacking these students, it's disturbing. We've regressed as a country, we've regressed as people, and we need to do something about it, and we need to change who we are now. And that's all I have to say.
Hello, my name is Kanitha Hun, that is Kannitha Hun, and I originally wasn't going to speak because I had not prepared anything, but I thought it was important that I be here to show my support for a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire. I wanted to comment about how incredibly disappointing and overwhelming it is to go on, not just on social media, but outside, and to see how our generation is constantly being silenced and ignored for our hopes to be treated as human beings. And I may not be completely educated on all the statistics and read a bunch of articles, but I do know that it is important to be educated on certain matters, and that it is up to the person to make sure that you go out and receive that information and know both sides. And so I've been in a couple debates with some people, I will say, and it seems that the misconception is that those who support a ceasefire are also supporting the acts of Hamas, which is not true. We do not support the acts of Hamas or the deaths of innocent civilians. And so I'd like to say that this is a turning point where the older generation can kind of listen to us for once and not silence us, because we have spoken on so many issues and we're just constantly getting shut down. Our ideas are seen as radical, but what we are pushing for is to be treated as humans and to be treated as equal. That's what we're asking for. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other public comment, so we will close public comment and move on with our agenda. Okay. We have a request for a 5-minute recess. Is there a motion? All right. 5-minute recess. Okay, we'll reconvene the council meeting, and we are now at the item of meeting dedications. Yeah. Yeah. If you can hear me in the lobby, could you either please close? Oh, thank you. All right, coming back to the agenda, meeting dedications. I have one. If anybody else has one, I'm open to that. Seeing none, unless this isn't the one that you're interested in. No. We're all interested. All right. So I'd like to dedicate tonight's meeting to, in honor of Larry Murphy, a former mayor, two-time mayor of Sonoma. And they had his memorial services last Friday at St. Leo's, and actually it was very interesting. Larry was a very interesting guy. Most of us knew him in a number of different capacities, whether it was, going to college with him at St. Mary's, or possibly his military service as a pilot. And when he left the military, went to work for Pan Am and flew for them for a while, and then he slipped into an interesting period in his life when he worked with the CIA. And he felt very unhappy with what the federal government was doing at the time, and so he left the CIA and decided to become an art teacher and taught art and pottery at Justin Siena for a number of years. And he was by trade a potter and would go to community fairs and sell his pottery. And then he and his wife Rose went off to Ireland to explore options in their world, and they were doing research for Irish pubs. And as many of us know, he came back to the city of Sonoma and opened up Murphy's Pub, which still exists today. And it was very important for him for that pub to continue under the management and ownership of Irish people, and so it does. It was really a nice service, and I think we all knew Larry, and he really loved this community. He was grateful to be here. He was passionate about things, just as people this evening are passionate. And he may actually even have been in the audience tonight had he been with us. So with his passing, I'd like to just throw out to the council the possibility. As you know, he lived on France Street right next to the bridge, and during the holidays he would decorate that bridge. And I'd like to throw out the idea of having staff come back with perhaps a possibility of dedicating the France Street Bridge in his name.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I think of Larry all the time. He was such an influential person in my life, and it would be great. I wish we could change the street to the Irish, Ireland instead of France. Maybe that'd be the Irish Street Bridge. But anyway, no, I think it's wonderful, and certainly he's given so much of this city. I think that'd be great.
Anybody else have feelings one way or the other? I see a thumbs up from Mr. Wellander. Good. All right. Do you have what you need, sir?
I do, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So no other dedications. Councilman's reports and comments. Who would like to go first? I'm sure everybody has something. All right.
All right. So I was at LAFCO today, and it was a very short meeting, looking at the service agreement for Santa Rosa primarily, but there's a lot of things on the agenda coming up at LAFCO that people might be interested in, including the Valley of the Moon Water District, and also the Kenwood fire. So there's some relatively close issues coming up there. But I would like to, at this time, announce my appointment because my commissioner decided not to serve any further, so I had an opening on the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission. So at this point, I'd like to appoint Julie Goldberg to that position.
All right.
And she has accepted.
All right, thank you. Well, let's just start. Oh. Mr. Wellander, do you have anything to share?
I do. I had 3 items to share. The first one is I had the opportunity to go to Sacramento to a conference that's put on by the League of California Cities with an attempt to be a more informed city councilman, and I was pleased to have had that opportunity. The second item is I had a chance to attend the board meeting of the Homeless Coalition for the Sonoma County. And once again, there was just overall discussion about how to best spend the monies that have been allocated for addressing homelessness in our county. And the last item was a meeting with our local board of supervisor, Susan Gorin, and it was just an opportunity again to get a different perspective beyond the city limits of what's going on in Sonoma County. And that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gurney. March 21st, I went to Southern California, Burbank, for the Cal City Leaguers Revenue and the Tax Committee in the meeting. That is the first in-person meeting for this year. And finally, we know each other. And then basically, we just review the state budget and for the year of the 2024 through the 2025. I still can see we have the $73 billion that is a deficit for the future years. I'm concerned. I haven't spent time and looked into. I will spend. I will prepare my comments, my observations, and for the next meeting. That is the first one. And the second one, it was my honor to be invited by San Francisco Mayor London Breed to join with her as the San Francisco City delegation visiting China, starting from April 13, ended on April 21st. I just only joined the partial of them, and I visit Beijing and China, Beijing, China, and Shanghai. That was wonderful and a trip because, as you know, China and America cannot go along a lot of places. And I know we have the different people and we have the different ideas, same thing like in the countries. But it is so important for us always to find out what is our common grounds, what is a good thing we can share each other. So that a panda, that is one of the biggest achievements. And our wonderful Mayor London Breed strategically got not only in the one, this is just only in the one, got to appear in the panda and send it to San Francisco Zoo. It is scheduled in 2025. So I will be working very closely with this delegation because it's the first time for us to see that and try to bring back. And because the panda is kind of the joy, representing the peace. Hopefully we can get a better word. And the local here, I take this an opportunity promoting our local stuff. And fortunately, our Buena Vista Winery become a sponsor, providing a wonderful wine. Now, that is the most famous wine that is the Sheriff, and also the Founders and the sparkling wine. And although there's very little, but it is a good, good well for the people living far away. And the next step is I would like to find some the local resource for the pandas and the food, because he ate a lot of the bamboos. I'm wondering. and in the farmers and the local here, and they just let me know, and then we can work together. Otherwise, we should import it from other places.
I have bamboo.
Oh yeah, you have bamboo. Then maybe just for the snack. And also, I would like to take this opportunity and let out the local involved more with our great Bay Area. And that is a wonderful thing, especially for our young generation. Next thing is we want to name these two pandas. If you have any good idea and a good name, just let me know, and we can work together and find a beautiful name for this pair of the pandas. Thank you so much, Mayor Gurney.
Vice Mayor, please.
I have 3 reports. I will try to make them as quick as possible. So I attended the Climate Reality Project in New York City from April 12th to 14th, and it is a conference. It's put on by Vice President Al Gore, and I have been saw his very first PowerPoint of the Inconvenient Truth years and years ago when the firm I previously worked with was working with a company that he had established. And so this was the updated version of that, and it's really an amazing document. I have copies of the short and the long version. If I may arrange to have some kind of local showing of that at some point. But key points. I'm not going to go into the whole explanation of how carbon concentration is affecting our atmosphere. I'm assuming people have an understanding of that. If you don't, it's a really good thing to learn about. But the situation we're in is the resulting man-made carbon pollution has created our 10 hottest years in record have been the last 10 years. 93% of the extra heat trapped by man-made global warming pollution goes into the ocean. Half of the increase in the ocean happened in the last 20 years, so it's rapidly increasing. And as we are experiencing here and many other places, especially on the East Coast, as the ocean temperatures increase, the ocean evaporates more moisture into the air and downpours get bigger. So we're continuing to see flooding. And then, of course, the opposite of that is that the drought caused by extreme heat pulls the moisture from the soils. So worldwide, and I think this is an important statistic because it affects all of us, the extreme weather catastrophes of the past 10 years have cost over $3 trillion. So the good thing about the conference is that there was also good news, because I know we've heard a lot of difficult news tonight, and so I don't want to just add to the difficult news. The good news is that the International Energy Agency says we actually have the technology that we need to reduce emissions by 50% by 2030. And once the world reaches net zero CO2 emissions, global temperatures will actually stop increasing. And as soon as 3 to 5 years after that. There was a belief at one point that that wouldn't happen for a significant period of time, and now there's also some science that shows that at that point we might even see a reversal in the temperatures. So that's the good news. And then also just the increase in growth of wind and solar power versus what was expected. Goals that were set for wind have been exceeded 34x times that goal, and by solar installations 445 times what the goals were for solar up to this date. So the transition is happening. So I will stop there. People happy. I'm happy to answer many more questions about that. It was a quite inspiring experience, and it was 3,000 people, very diverse, young people from all over the world, people from many different communities across the United States. Sonoma Clean Power I attended on April 4th, and as many of us probably already know, PG&E fees are going up. One of the things I think it's important to know that the electricity costs generated by Sonoma Clean Power are separate from PG&E and are not an extra charge. And customers who receive generation services from Sonoma Clean Power versus customers who receive both generation and delivery from PG&E save 7% on their total monthly bills. So it's there, you actually save money. And the other way, another way to enroll, to save more money is to enroll in the grid savvy alerts, and you can get rewards for actually using less energy at high energy peak times. We received a number of legislative regulatory updates. I will not go through those. I'm sure people would be glad to hear that. But there are those that Sonoma Clean Power is looking to support, and a couple that they're looking to opposing unless the wording is changed. Once again, I'm happy to answer any questions about those at a separate time. We're in process of reviewing the budget, and once again, they're drafting a budget that would continue to support a 7% savings for customers that are receiving Sonoma Clean Power. Then on April 24th, one last thing. So one of the things that was discussed at the last meeting was including more discussion within the budget about the equity investments, so not talking about in the financial portfolio, but money going to low-income communities to help low-income communities have lower fees, be able to electrify, have incentivize electrification. So, you know, the language, we want to have that more apparent in the budget. A lot is happening, but it wasn't showing up in the budget so that you could really see how much of the budget is dedicating to low-income communities. And then Sonoma, I attended on April 24th, the Sonoma Valley Citizens Action Commission, Citizens Advisory Commission. Some things act, some things advise. And so there was a great presentation, and I would recommend people go to SVCAC. There was a great presentation on water. Received a presentation from Sonoma Water. This is all one presentation together. Sonoma Water, Valley of the Moon Water, Sonoma Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Permit Sonoma. And once again, and we have, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, although we have, you know, we're up in the percentage of rainwater that we're receiving, which is very positive. On the other side, we still have significant work to do in regards to groundwater as the groundwater levels continue to go down. And so a lot of that has to do with issues of how are we doing stormwater capture, what are we doing in regards to issues of recycled water. So that was also, the presentation was great and a really good, if you want to understand how water works, in Sonoma County and Sonoma Valley, well, primarily in Sonoma Valley and the city of Sonoma. It was a great presentation. And that's it. I kept it short.
Thank you very much. You kept it so short. I have nothing to report. So we will move on to city manager comments and announcements.
Great, thank you, Mayor. A couple updates. I'm excited to announce that we have had a successful recruitment for a finance director. The individual has accepted the offer. We're working through the final negotiations at this point, and hope to make a public announcement soon. So looking forward to having them on board. We are, if you've been on the plaza, a couple things going on at the plaza currently. We're installing some bike racks in the plaza, so that's going on currently, and they should be up and running soon. And we'll hopefully hear from the public how they work, how they like them, and if we want to add more, we can do that depending on how they're received. So please let us know. Second, we did do our annual cleaning of the fountain and the duck pond, so that's underway. The fountain is complete. The duck pond is being cleaned currently today, and I believe that's ongoing over the next couple of days. We also, the Tuesday night market is starting next Tuesday, so if you're in town, come down to the Tuesday night market. It's the kickoff for the year. We're looking forward to that as well. I also want to, again, highlight Noah Malone. He was selected by the Cultural and Finance Commission as the 2024 Student Creative Artist recipient. He received a $2,000 award, and he's a musician and a violinist, and there's more information about Noah and the program on our city's website if you want to learn more about him. So really excited to hear that. I also want to congratulate Chris Pegg, who's our Public Works Operations Manager, and Monique Savez-Burns, who is our Deputy City Clerk. They completed the inaugural Sonoma Marin Leadership Academy this past month as a group of all the cities in Sonoma County and Marin got together and created this Leadership Academy to join forces and resources to host this. And so we sent both Monique and Chris to that training, and they were able to meet people across Sonoma Marin, and they did projects, and hopefully maybe we'll report out on some of their projects that they worked on that were presented to all the city managers in the future. And another update is we're contracting with the Conservation Corps North Bay. They're doing some work up in Mountain Cemetery currently. They started today, I believe, doing some cleanup of dead debris and tree issues. So I'm trying to address potential fire hazards up at Mountain Cemetery. And then finally, you may have seen the walls are pretty barren here. Typically it's covered with art. We just removed the latest art installation, and tomorrow morning we'll be putting up the new art installation for Earth Day. And so you'll see next time you come in this room, it'll be covered with beautiful photos and art for the Earth Day exhibit. And then finally, I will be out of town on May 15th, the next council meeting. Jennifer will be leading the meeting for you on that day, but just want to make sure that the council's aware of that and the public's aware of that, and that's all the updates I have.
Can I add one quick thing?
Thank you. Yes?
It's very quick. I attended today, I went to the Sonoma High School Student Art Show, which was amazing, and I encourage everybody to go because you can actually buy the art there. So, and it's there will be tomorrow. It goes from, I think, from 2:30 to 5, and it's the last day tomorrow. And then there's a presentation starting, and award presentation at 6.
All right, no more. All right, thank you, City Manager, for your comments, and our City Attorney is next.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have an update for the Council on the California Business Roundtable measure that is currently before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has set an oral argument date for May 8th, so a week from tonight, 9 a.m. We normally get a decision from them within about 90 days of argument, so that should be by the beginning of August. That's all my comments. Fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the consent calendar, and all the items on the consent calendar are considered to be of routine nature and will be acted upon in a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council or staff request a specific item to be removed for separate action. So, anybody on the council wish to remove an item?
Yes, I would like to poll agenda item 7.3 for discussion, please.
All right, 7.3. Okay, do we do 7.3 now, or do we wait until?
I move approval of the consent calendar with the exception of item 7.3.
Okay.
I second that.
Second. Any public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, call for a vote.
Councilmember Lowe?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas?
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander?
Yes.
Councilmember Ding?
Aye.
Mayor Gurney?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
So, good evening, Mayor Gurney and City Council members. So item number 7.3 that was on the consent calendar was a request that Mr. Gary Saperstein had made of city staff. Mr. Gary Saperstein is the organizer of Out in the Vineyard, and he had made the request that the city consider painting crosswalks in and around the plaza in the rainbow flag colors for the month of Gay Pride, or for Gay Pride Month. So city staff put together a small group discussion on this request and determined it was feasible. The results of our explanations are included in the staff report. Staff is suggesting that we paint the 2 crosswalks. And Monique, I don't know if, can you pull up the staff report? Exhibit A. So city staff is suggesting that we paint the 2 crosswalks in front of City Hall that are in the horseshoe, the entrance and the exits. Those 2 crosswalks were chosen because, as you will see shortly, they're in need of some repair and some repainting. And so city staff thought that it would be appropriate that those 2 get, if city council approves, that those would be the 2 that would be painted in the rainbow flag colors. And then there they are. I don't know, can you zoom in? Is there any ability to zoom in? Okay, so perfect. I think most of you are familiar with those 2 crosswalks. So the installation period is for the month of June to coincide with Gay Pride Month, and probably by early July we'd have it restriped. At this point, the restriping could comprise of repaving the area and making just updating the asphalt in that space, and then restriping it with the thermoplast in the normal colors of white that you see there. If approved, the cost of the materials and labor would come out of the Recreation and Community Services Program funding under the Council Discretionary Fund. And the total dollar amount is Exhibit D. Yeah, if you want to pull that up. So really what the costs are that are associated with this project are really just the cost of the paint. There's some labor for city staff time to paint it, and then there you see it? Yeah, Exhibit C, sorry. And so the total dollar amount is close to $3,000 or over $3,000 for the project. And at this point, if you have any questions, feel free. I'm here, and I hopefully can answer them for you.
Just a quick question. If we do the repaving, which it appears it's justified, I trust that's not part of the $3,500. That would come under a separate line item.
That is correct.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Well, I support the celebration in the plaza, and my concern is spending city resources on a temporary presentation of the crosswalks. I'm concerned about how much time it took you to prepare the staff report. And so as we work on the budget, you know, the way we spend the money is important to me. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, we've had similar conversations about the Tuesday night market. So I'm not sure that I'm in support of this, but it came to my attention that we have the ability to light City Hall in multiple colors. And I don't know if that's something that we could do in lieu of painting pavement.
So we do, as part of our holiday light installation, we do have some uplights, and they can be turned different colors. I would need to go back and look into it. I'm not quite sure if we have 11 of them, of the lights, so that we would represent all the right colors in all the right locations, but it's definitely something staff can look into if that's your preference.
It just seems to me that that's much less expense than painting and repainting pavement.
I also just want to acknowledge that we do have some new lights on the clock tower as well, and those lights actually can fade in and out of different colors as well. So we do have some new features at City Hall.
Yeah, I would just like to see a lower impact kind of presentation.
Okay.
That's just me. Sam.
So I'm going to, even though Gary submitted the request, I'm going to also say that I had a lot to do with this. I'm a troublemaker sometimes. But, you know, we had a really successful first gay pride celebration last year. And Gary asked to meet with me to sort of, and the city manager to go over like what was successful and what we could do, you know, this time, what was, you know, what could we do again because it worked, what could we add? And that's where the suggestion came up, and I was supportive of it. And I remember speaking to you, Mr. Mayor, and I should have mentioned everything, and so I'll take, you know, responsibility for some of that. But I just felt like we got such great response from the community for that event. And I always think of every time we do an event like that that's so successful, and it shines a light on people who normally don't feel like they may have a space in this whole thing that goes on in the plaza. I think it's a good thing. Brings out, there was a lot of young people. People came from different parts of the county, and I could just see people like wanting to take their picture there and bring people into Sonoma, which I think is, you know, in one sense, it's great for the people, but it's also great for the economy. I mean, there's a lot of competition around the county for people to have events. And I mean, Gary can speak to his own events that he does, but I've been to one, and I'm going to go to one on Sunday, and it better not rain because I got my pink outfit picked out, and it's silk, and it's going to get wrecked in the rain. But that's another story. You know, it's a great event. You bring a lot of people to this county, and they spend their dollars on the plaza, and I think it would be a really great tribute to have it there. And I could just see, you know, Instagram blowing up over our cool crosswalks and everyone wanting to come to Sonoma's event, and I that makes me feel good about it. But I want to, you know, apologize really for not. We sort of ran with it. When you asked me to run with something, I mean, that's what happens. I get creative, sorry. But I hope that we stick with this plan and give it a try. And if it turns out to be problematic, then next year we'll think of something else. But I think it's worth a try. Thank you. And I apologize for running with something.
No apology necessary.
No, I just want to say that I support it, and I think that it's a wonderful way to very visually support the LGBTQ plus AI. If I have the latest, please. You know, I think it's just that our community, I think that it's a really fabulous thing for us to do, because it really does make a very strong statement. And I will say I love the lighting of the clock in front, but it doesn't really show up well until it's dark. So, you know, it's like we have that, and I actually think 11, how many we would need to get new lights might cost more than $3,480, unless we're going to use them over and over again, which is another consideration.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I just want to simply say I want to support, and also, I know we have limited resource and do a lot of things. I very much appreciate. Let's work together, celebrate diversity. Thank you.
Mr. Wellander.
I would love to share a few comments. Last year, I had the opportunity to attend the first celebration of Gay Pride Month, and I was extremely pleased to be there. I thought the combination of the speakers, the cards that were passed out, the kind of the community walk around the plaza, as well as flying the pride flag for the month of June. I thought that was all very good, and to me it reflected public display of recognition and support for the LGBTQ plus community, who I believe makes for part of the very rich fabric of the Sonoma Valley. As a father to a lesbian daughter who, with her partner, have given my wife and I our 6 grandchildren, I am an incredible advocate of the LGBTQ community, and I have had the opportunity to be involved in a number of events down through the years. I am a little bit uncomfortable with the rainbow painted crosswalks, and I guess part of the reason for it is that apparently Petaluma last year did something similar, and my daughter's partner told me that I think she may have used the word knucklehead, but it may have been a little bit different, basically drove over it and spun hookers and totally destroyed it. And she was hurt. And as a father-in-law, I took that to heart. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, because that's not what I call a move for unification and bringing everybody together, which is what I strongly support. Yeah, the money is a small number, but it is also kind of a little bit symbolic of what we got ourselves out of in terms of our deficit of $1.1 million. And we have so much division right now in the country that I would hate to see some element added that might add to the division. And so it's my recommendation that we repeat the same elements that we did, that I saw last year, that I totally support this year, because I believe it was both appropriate and respectful. And I too would support the mayor's suggestion that if we have the capability, we may not be able to hit all 11 colors, but if we did illuminate City Hall, the front of City Hall, for what I would say the first weekend of Gay Pride, I think that would be a very classy, very expressive, and a very telling way to send the message that we in Sonoma certainly do support the LGBTQ community. So those are my thoughts.
All right, Ms. Lowe.
Did we bring the stickers that we have today?
I don't
Any
believe
chance?
we didn't bring any to the
Okay,
council.
I was going to say we could distribute them. Anyway, all right. Well, they're available at City Hall. You can call me. I'll give you some. But what they do is, the reason I say that is the screen over the City Hall is like a rainbow over the City Hall, and it says, everyone is welcome. And anyway, so, and they're union printed by the California Professional Firefighters, so they're suitable for framing and sticking on your door.
So, any other questions for staff? Mr. Saperstein, would you like to comment at all? Please do.
Okay. Thank you. I really do appreciate the time and the consideration. I'm very appreciative of that. In part of the cost of it that you brought up, Mayor Gurney, I don't think there's a cost on the lives of young people who don't think that they belong, that they're not part of a community, that they're not represented by a community. Symbolisms mean everything. When I was 18 or 15 or 21, God, what I would have given to have something like this happen in my town that I was living in, to make me feel that I was a person, a complete person, and to validate who I am. And sort of those symbolisms of the pride flag flowing, of the rainbow crosswalks, those are all symbolisms that resonate so much with our community. Yes, and as Sandra Lowe brought up, yes, it could be good for the economy. Business is one thing that's all great, and we know that it is. We know we have dollars to spend, but it's more than that. And those symbolisms really do resonate so deeply with our community and with others. And it sends a message out there to everyone who comes into Sonoma that we are this diverse and accepting community here. Responding to something about violence, We live with that every day, as you well know, having a child who is queer. We live with that every single day. Whether I'm sitting out at the Swiss Hotel with a bunch of friends and thinking that quite possibly someone's going to drive by and just say there's a bunch of queers and shoot at us. So the rainbow crosswalks, yes, there have been cities. It's happening all across the country. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I will say I was in Bend, Oregon. In Bend, Oregon, they just passed it also where they are. Actually, they may make them permanent. Actually, they were talking about it, but they're doing some crosswalks to the major park, Drake Park there. But it's happening all across the country where they are putting in rainbow crosswalks. And yes, some people do deface them, but that's showing everybody that we're rising above that. We're willing to take the risk and rise above what people may do. So I think it's important. I would love to see the rainbow crosswalks. I love the idea of the lights on the city plaza also. I say do it all, but do it all. But
With sparkles.
With glitter. But so I think that you should take those things into consideration when thinking about the rainbow crosswalks, because they will resonate with people, not only with our community, but with so many people coming into Sonoma as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll bring it back to the council.
I think we need some public comment.
Is there more public comment?
Public
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Tom Conlon again. I didn't expect to speak on this item, but I find this discussion fascinating. On the one hand, I'm well aware that we need better crosswalks all over the city, and that focusing most of our attention, as we so often do in this room, on the plaza and on the tourism promotion activities. I'm just sitting over in that chair thinking about the proportionality of the $3,500 expenditure, and also reflecting on the fact that that is, I believe, the sum total of the outreach and engagement budget request that the Climate Action Commission is preparing to bring before you at your next meeting, $3,500. So for just that element of our program. So reflecting on some good fiscal prudent management concerns that have been raised here tonight, might be more pragmatic to allocate this expense to the transient occupancy tax and have that expense borne by the tourism promotion group. And to the comments been made, of course, we all support, I believe we all support lesbian, gay, non-binary members of our community. And so, and then I like the idea of lights on the plaza as well. Perhaps after you pass the ceasefire resolution, you could use red, green, and black on that building as well. Thank you for your consideration.
Sarah Lawrence again. I am in full support of this notion to do the crosswalk, but I'd like to just add that your resolution to ask for a ceasefire is free. Won't cost you a penny.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything to say pertaining to this particular item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the crosswalks, and that's it. 7.3 as designed.
I second.
Motion second. Roll call.
Councilmember Lowe?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas?
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander?
No.
Councilmember Ding?
Aye.
Mayor Gurney?
No.
Thank you. The motion carries 3-2.
We're going to move to public hearing 8.1. ordinances amending sections of the Sonoma Municipal Code pertaining to the appeal time periods and finding this action is exempt from further environmental review under the general rule in California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. Guidelines, section 15061B3, that CEQA only applies to projects that have, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, take it away.
Thank you. I will keep this short and sweet. The proposed ordinance is really a cleanup round. It's following up on an amendment that we made a year or so ago, trying to streamline times. We had an issue previously of deadlines falling when City Hall was closed. And with all zoning code amendments, you hit a mole, the whack-a-mole somewhere, it pops up somewhere else. And so this is really just cleaning up some other places where there were references and having one standard for the vast majority of our appeals. And it's pretty simple, I think, so available for questions.
It is 2 ordinances, so I would appreciate if there were 2 motions on this when we get to that point.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, council, any questions for staff? All right. Mr. Wellander.
My eyes are glazing over a little bit. Differentiate between the two, because I keep seeing appeals in one, and then I see appeals in the other. And so where's the
So if you search the City of Sonoma Municipal Code for appeals, it is in many, many, many different sections. So in the zoning code, any amendments to the zoning code have to go to the Planning Commission first and then to City Council. The remaining provisions that are elsewhere in the municipal code are acted on by City Council. So that's one went to City Council straight and one went to Planning Commission first.
So it necessitates the idea of having it in 2 locations still,
Yes, yeah, it's in many locations.
but we're simplifying it into just 2?
No, there are appeals in many, many different locations in our zoning code, and there's going to be one as uniform as possible of a standard. So in the beginning of the code, I think it's chapter 124. We've tried to kind of reference back and just make sure that the language is as consistent as possible.
And it's impractical to think that even though we have different types of appeals, we can have just one narrative about the time frame of which you can apply for an appeal.
There's different state laws that apply to different things. We have building code appeals, we have planning appeals, we have hearings for administrative actions. There's a huge wide array of appeals.
You've convinced me. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments for staff? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. Back to the council.
I will make a motion that we introduce, is that the proper term, Ms. Rudeman? We introduce an ordinance of the City of Sonoma amending sections as written in recommendation number 1.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right.
And I will make a motion, let's see if I can do this right, to introduce amending appeals, as amending the appeals in sections as stated in the document.
I second.
Item number 2.
Item number 2. Thank you. Almost.
I second already.
We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right, well done. Unless I'm missing something, I think we're moving on to the regular calendar now. Item 9.1, resolution setting a public hearing regarding adjustments to the rates for solid waste. utility service. Mr.
Good
Berger.
evening, Mayor Gurney, council members. Mike Berger, Director of Public Works for the City of Sonoma, and thank you for seeing forth this resolution tonight, which is to direct staff to provide notice of the hearing as required by law to effect this change to the City of Sonoma and its contract for solid waste collection as well as recycling, composting, and disposal services, which altogether comprise critical, necessary health, safety, and environmental utility for the City of Sonoma. I just want to give you a little background on what's being brought forth tonight. In 2023, staff started working on the, we have contracted with Sonoma Garbage Collection for these services that I previously described since 1994, in a contract that has not been has been modified only. It's been amended 9 times, most recently in 2021, for waste services with Sonoma Garbage Collection. The agreement is currently set to expire May 31st, 2027, and staff embarked on a effort to rewrite the contract because it had been so long, and also that State Bill 1383 was passed by the California State Legislature, and it was approved in 2016, and it required a reduction of inorganic waste disposed in landfills by 75%. And with taking these two factors into consideration, that this new state law is going to dramatically affect the garbage, the way that garbage is collected and disposed of, and the fact that the contract hadn't been revised since 1994 in depth, staff decided that it would be the right thing to do. And we started out with our sustainability coordinator, Travis Wagner, working with SGC to come up with new contract terms and conditions. And this is a fairly deep effort, and it's very specialized. Trying to work on one of these contracts, there's a significant amount of specialized material. And because of that, we contracted with a company called R3 that specializes in this type of contract and negotiations. And when our sustainability coordinator left City of Sonoma, we decided that we were going to contract with R3 to not only do our franchise fee study, which was what we originally contracted with them for, but also contract negotiations, our Prop 218 mailer that's required by state law to be put out to the fee payers of the service, and finalization of the contract. And tonight, Garth Schultz, the principal from R3, is here, and he's been lead along with his team to do the negotiation with Sonoma Garbage Collectors. And he's here tonight. I'm going to turn the mic over to him and let him go ahead and describe to you the work that he's done. Garth.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, again, Garth Schultz, president with R3, native actually of Sonoma County. Been in this space about 20 years, and I spent 8 years working in local government doing on-the-ground work, managing these types of agreements. So what we've got today is just a short summary of the staff recommendation, really the action before you this evening. Go into background, talk about outcomes, and then talk about really the main event, which is the ways in which rates are proposed to change for customers. So your specific requested actions this evening, I should note briefly, our firm, we only work for local agencies like you. We work well with contractors like Sonoma Garbage Collectors and others throughout the state. We do work throughout the state of California, but we're here as advocates of local government interests and ratepayer interests in both meeting your environmental goals and securing good solid waste sanitation services. So for this evening, really, your main two actions are set a public hearing, June 19th, to consider adjustment to the rates and then direct staff to issue the Prop 218 notice, which is a part of your packet, which would go out to ratepayers right away, hit the printers tomorrow, get into the mail on Friday, and have a 45-day time frame before the public hearing is required under state law. So Mike already covered some of the background here. This is a critical health and safety and environmental service. And, in essence, it's the weekly collection of garbage and green waste and recycling from homes and businesses throughout the city. There are a host of other services that are provided by Sonoma garbage collectors, and even more that will be provided under the new agreement. As Mike covered, it's been amended several times. It's current agreement, somewhat outdated. There's been changes in industry standards and state laws and contract language, insurance provisions, and other terms and conditions. And though the agreement just ends, 3 years away, that is actually just around the corner in terms of the contracting timeframes for these agreements. Mike covered a little bit of state law. The state law requirements under SB 1383 are robust and varied, and they all are on the city as the entity that is required to provide certain services. You, of course, then can contract those out to entities like Sonoma Garbage Collectors, and part of the action here is to take that responsibility and to place it on them as the responsible contractor who has some of the direct control and influence over certain categories, which I'll cover on a later slide. I think where we've landed is that this is an agreement that secures compliance with SB 1383. It provides important updates to their operations. They've been doing business in here for a long time. There are some new improvements that this agreement and the negotiated outcomes will achieve, and we'll cover those. Importantly, this continues provision of solid waste collection services into the future so that you maintain that consistency in service from the utility. And then for all of the above, there is a necessary adjustment to rates in order to compensate the company for their services. The next few slides are just covering the outcomes. It's a 10-year proposed agreement that would take effect in July 1, 2024, superseding the remaining term of the existing agreement and go for 10 years. 10 years is industry standard for these agreements, primarily because it aligns with the lifetime of the rolling stock, the solid waste collection vehicles that are out in place in the community. In terms of the SB 1383 programs and conditions, state law has a requirement that new containers put into place, and all containers by 2036 meet a new color standard and have compliant labels that educate customers about what goes in each bin. And unlike, in recent years, and certainly 20 years ago, if you go from city to city throughout Sonoma County, throughout the state of California, you will actually start to see that all organics bins will be green, all recycling bins will be blue, and all garbage containers will be either black or gray. So that's to create consistency in terms of outreach and education, and SGC will be providing that during the term. There's a requirement under the state law that requires the city to procure recycled organic waste product, meaning compost or mulch or other types of materials. They'll be helping fulfill some of those terms and conditions and providing those through free drop-offs for the community. Critically, and these next two are really important, and they're pretty nuanced and they're behind the scenes. But the state, in its wisdom with this law, which really is a greenhouse gas emissions reduction law, it also really wants to know what's going on. So there's requirements for every community in the state to look at what's going on with contamination. And contamination really, in this sense, means is there garbage in the organic waste stream that goes to compost? Is there garbage in the recycling stream that then gets sorted through and marketed for international commodity sales? So there's required checks on containers and to make sure that there is, knowledge about what level of contamination is out there, and education to customers, solid waste generators, subscribers to the service, so that they know how to do the right thing. And then there's a whole host of reporting and data tracking requirements under the state law. So that's kind of the high level in terms of what's addressed from SB 1383 in the agreement. The agreement itself is, I think, roughly 100 pages long, so I'm summarizing here. Now, importantly, in terms of updates to SGC's operations, their vehicle stock is due for replacement, hands down. The vehicles are older than they should be. They need to be, procured new. This will have added benefit in the community in terms of vehicles that are both robust and able to last the remaining term of this new agreement, but also it will help with things like periodic breakdowns or spills or leaks. So that's part of what they'll be doing. And in fact, they've already committed resources to new vehicles that will be coming in the near term. Other portions of what they'll be providing are, new engagement in the community in the form of a zero waste coordinator, somebody who can work directly with businesses primarily to understand what goes where, how do you participate in these programs accurately, how can you reduce your solid waste stream, how can you reduce your garbage bill by placing less of that material in the garbage and more of it in your organics or the recycling stream. That comes along with new public outreach and education elements that they'll be providing as well. They'll be providing support for city events, the plaza and the depot, a robust effort to kind of, keep and mitigate the impact that those events have in terms of waste generation and litter. They'll be enhancing their customer service platforms, updated website, updated phone system, more customer service staffing. And importantly, and this was an issue that SGC brought to the table, bringing their employees, drivers, and other staff up to living wages. The space for drivers and mechanics in the state specifically has been really, really challenging in the last 10 years. It's very difficult for haulers, solid waste operators throughout the state to maintain a consistent employee stock. It's something that they've really had the benefit of being a small family company. They've had good relationships and consistent employment, but they want to keep them, they want to stay, and for that, they kind of have to meet the market rate, and so that's what they've proposed. And then, just by virtue of having a new agreement that is to modern standards, you get a whole host of other new services, new terms and conditions, new legal provisions, and best practices. So there's a large, it's a very short summary of what's in a very detailed agreement. That agreement's still being finalized, so it's not yet ready for council or public review, but that will be a part of what comes forward to the June 19th action. Okay, the meat of the night is really, for all of this, how are rates proposed to change? So what this is showing on the table is a sampling. These are just the residential rates. There are other rates for commercial and industrial service. All rates are proposed to be adjusted by 20% effective July 1. It sounds like a big number, but it's on a small starting number, and I think that's a point that we'll make in one of the following slides. But you can see for your kind of most common residential service types, and these are bundled, right? So it says 20 gallon, those are garbage container size. So you either have a 20 gallon, this is the mini, 32 gallon, which is the minimum, medium, which most folks subscribe to, a 64 gallon, which is a bit bigger, and a 96 gallon, which is for, 6 people living at home with kids and lots of mail, whatever. The point here being is that that's a bundled service. You pay based on the garbage rate, but it includes recycling, it includes organics, and it includes the other services that they offer to residents and businesses. So you can see for, say, the 32-gallon example, which is the standard size, going from $22.91 per month in your current rate to $27.49. That's an increase of under $5 a month to pay for those additional services. Now, we did a pretty detailed review of their cost pro forma, what it's going to cost them to provide new services, new vehicles, new equipment, the new people, the living wages. We reviewed financial statements, revenues, expenses, and then negotiated pretty heavily with the company to arrive at an outcome that we both felt we could recommend to the council, that the public could accept, and would also earn them a fair return on their investment and cover the cost of providing services. So in doing that, we effectively identified that what we've landed on is sufficient to cover what's coming forward. It's not more than necessary to cover what's coming forward, and they'll earn a reasonable profit, but not an excessive profit. And those are all important findings, both with respect to the notice that you may be issuing to your ratepayers, but also just for peace of mind about what are you getting and what's your knowledge of is it a good deal. And this slide really gives you kind of the take-home message. So there's a lot here, and I know it's a lot. There's a table that's in your staff report which summarizes this in tabular format. But in essence, what you're looking at on the very far left, you can see Sonoma, current rates in a little blue box or a little green box. These are the rates for residential subscribers, in the front row being the mini can, the 20-gallon can, the orange row back being the 32-gallon can, which most folks subscribe to, then the gray being the 64, and then the 96. And so what we're doing with this chart is we're saying, you look to the very far left, and it's organized so that going from left to right, you go from the lowest rates in the county to the highest rates in the county. You here in Sonoma are currently lowest rates in the county, hands down. And after this adjustment, you will still be second lowest in the county and securing a whole host of additional services. We should note that, we know that other cities in the left hand of this chart, Roanoke Park, Sebastopol in particular, going to be, Sebastopol has an RFP out for a new agreement, perhaps a new contractor, but certainly new rates. They expect that their rates may be going up sometime next year as well when that agreement takes place. Roanoke Park's going to be renegotiating their agreement with their hauler. So these are not static. They continue to rise and grow. So, after the recommended adjustments, you'll still be amongst the lowest in the county. I don't know what Cotati's future holds, but what you can see in Cotati is that the gray and yellow bars are still much higher than Sonoma's overall. So, the take-home point here is, even after adjustment, you still fare very comparably to the rest of the county. And the county fares very comparably to the rest of the Bay Area in general. You tend to have lower rates here in Sonoma County than elsewhere. So in terms of next steps, the action before you, set the public hearing, direct staff to provide the notice. The notice is in the packet. It would go to all their Sonoma garbage collector ratepayers, the folks that are paying the bill. It describes the reasons for the adjustments, another version of what I've shared with you this evening. And then importantly, provides directions on how ratepayers can protest rate adjustments if they so choose. And then they can issue written protests to the city clerk in advance of and leading up to the public hearing on the 19th. If a majority protest would exist if 50% plus one of eligible ratepayers protest the rate adjustment, in which case the council would not be able to act on the 19th approving it. But absent majority protest, you would be legally able to move forward with the rate adjustment. And then at that time, we'll also have the new final collection agreement on the agenda for potential approval by the council as a part of the same evening. So if you have questions, I'm here for you. Otherwise, thank you for the time and appreciate being here.
Any questions? Mr. Wellander?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I know that we have been collecting compost for a few months. At least I have 3 bins, and I've been lectured by my wife what bin to throw stuff in. I'm curious because how well we've done in changing the volumes from recycle to landfill to compost now that we're composting, because the 75% reduction is pretty aggressive. And I'm just curious, out of interest, do you have any reflection on how well we've been doing with what we've got going on right now?
Good question. I don't have that data. I've not been involved in your programs really up until helping get this negotiation kind of over the finish line and bring a deal forward for council consideration. What I can say is that your programs meet the requirements under state law, and the 75% reduction under state law is a statewide threshold, right? So they're not going to each individual community and gathering measurements and saying, are you meeting 75% reduction or not? They really can't. There's no data ability for them to be able to do so. What they did instead with the law is said, you shall implement this set of programs and services. And that's what they're measuring to. And that's what the city needs to report on through Zero Waste Sonoma, the Regional Joint Powers Authority, to say, we've implemented these services. Here's the status of our services. Here's the results of our compliance audit checks on containers. And so that's what you as a city will be monitored by. We're in this kind of early period of their it's the state agency CalRecycle that reviews those reports. They have not come up with a finding of any deficiency here in Sonoma. So far you're meeting it. Through this agreement, you'll be, securing some of those key services for the longer term. It's been kind of cobbled together in these last couple of years, which have been the first couple of years where implementation of those have been required.
And I believe it's still the same topic, but I was curious. I read an article not too long ago that says we're now producing too much compost. And if so, I know that the program is now providing 4 opportunities for, I think, up to 200 cubic yards of compost giveaway, which is great. But I'm just saying, I was just curious on, how the industry has responded to now creating too much compost.
It's interesting. So there's like two things happening. So part of what the state law did is it both drove up the generation of compost because we're collecting more organic material and turning it into compost instead of it going to the landfill. And so it both increased supply and created a mandatory market for demand in requiring every city, special district, county, town in the state to procure this material. That part's taking a little bit longer to roll out. Cities are struggling with how to get this provision secured, how to fund it. What I've heard in the research is really from those that have been looking at ag land throughout the state is that there's really kind of no limit to some of the appetite that could be accomplished with compost, but it's around good and strategic ways of getting it from where it is today to those correct and right places.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I have a quick question around slide 5. So just so that to understand how you get charged, because you said that this was bundled. So if you have, so we have different size cans because we actually have very little garbage, I'm happy to say.
So you're probably in the very top line of this chart, which is the 20-gallon garbage rate.
But then our other two, of course, our compost and our recycling are larger.
And there's no charge for those directly. So again, as a bundle, you only pay based on the garbage container size. And you don't pay separately for the others. And really, those are just those are provided at no additional cost. I mean, they're paid for within these rates, right? They're not free. It still costs to pay the drivers to pick up the containers. It's really the collection costs are virtually the same as picking up the garbage bin. The processing and composting costs in many cases can actually be equal to or higher than processing or disposing of garbage. So it's a bundled rate so that it's an incentive to the customer to do the right thing and put it in the blue and the green if it fits in those containers.
And reduce your garbage.
Correct.
And so the other question I have is, I love that there will be collecting batteries. What about, was there any discussion or is there any capability in regards to other electrical devices or
that wasn't in the discussion for my time in this engagement. And there may actually be elements of it in the agreement, but I don't have that at the top of my mind. There often can be some ability to do that as a part of a regular, say, bulky item collection pickup. I might let the company respond to that because they may know a little bit more about the specifics of that service and whether it's in or out. Sorry, I don't know that in that much detail. But it's something that also could be considered in the future. So in the agreement, the city would retain the ability to negotiate additional services with the hauler as needed, right? So it's called a city-directed change, where you could say, hey, we're really curious about this program. Is this something you could provide? And they could say, yeah, we'll think about whether we can make that work. We'll bring forward some financials, and then you can negotiate a change in compensation just for provision of that new service.
Yeah.
Exactly, a change order.
Yeah, thank you.
And Vice Mayor, I'll just add to that. I think zero waste, there are regional programs for e-waste collection events and things. So those are typically regionally done through zero waste and other programs, not necessarily each individual city.
I would like to get close and work with the county zero waste, the Sonoma Zero Waste Agency. They have a lot of the resources, and also I know Recology, and that is a big player for this area, and how we can, get some of the grants or some of the financial support from the county zero waste. I'm the representative. I want to keep my eyes open, and please, let me know if you have any information. I'm able to provide, convenience and tell the other board members. See, because our service provider is very, very unique. It's a local, and in the county, the most 70 or 80% of the services and covered by the Recology. And recently, our former and the city council and the mayor, Logan Harvey, and was appointed as the general manager and over there. I visited their own site. It's kind of amazing. They have a lot of the potentials to recycle, to sorting, and more, and these kind of the waste. So now I'm wondering in the future how we can work closely with them, or if any the owner, if any idea for the future, because we appreciate you provide a good service and the lowest price in the county, but I want to see more the reliable and continuous service. So that I definitely know they got more support from the county and from the state. So, I want to protect our local. And this is the number one. Number two is the 20% increase for the rate. And it seems like for me it's it's very very big. Although comparative to say, and for the monthly and the change, just only in several dollars. But I'm thinking, and our local here, and many and retired people, they mostly rely on and the Social Security. Social Security benefits, they never can catch, and the inflation rate, and here and also, and in the future increase it by 20%, and in the future also you will increase 5%. So then I'm wondering if possible, and we can gradually the 10% by 10%, and in this way and our residents can get used to how to find a resolution, because here you increase because this is a necessity service. Yeah, they have to pay. Or I would suggest if you have any the favorable rates for the low income or and difficult to the families, that would be helpful. Yeah, that is my comment. Thank you.
Yeah. So just to respond briefly, so one, I'm not with Sonoma Garbage Collectors. I'm your consultant on this matter. Sonoma Garbage Collectors representatives are here this evening, and I know that they may make a comment. With respect to integration with Zero Waste Sonoma does a great job and obviously is working on non-collection related issues, whereas this agreement and the proposed rates that are the subject of the recommended notice are around your collection services agreement, which is managed individually by each city and town within the county. And so there is integration between those two layers, but the collection level aspects are really mandated and kind of required at the local collection level. And I can't speak to grants through Zero Waste Sonoma. I imagine that that's something that the city is kind of tracking on a regular basis, and they provide a whole host of direct services to the city that would offset costs that the city and Sonoma Garbage Collectors would otherwise have to undertake themselves. With respect to the rates, we did discuss with the company more of a phased-in approach to rates. There was a couple of reasons we didn't land there. One, in terms of the near-term investment, both capital and human, that they need to make to fulfill the terms and conditions of the agreement, they weren't able to agree to a phased-in approach because it wouldn't provide them with the revenue capital to cover those obligations. As a small company, they're not sitting on, war chests of reserves from other franchise agreement entities, so they really have to survive on what they make and earn here. And so it was something that was discussed in negotiations. It wasn't something they were able to fulfill, which is why the recommendation before you tonight is that one-time 20% increase. And then finally, with respect to a low income rate, that's not something that was on the table during negotiations. It's not a part of the agreement. It is something that could be considered going forward, either as a city implemented program directly or through a negotiated kind of change order amendment to the agreement going forward.
Okay. Okay, I would like to see, how we can follow up those kind of, and, favorable program.
All right, thank you. I think the intent is to get this out into the public domain and receive comment if it is too much. So, all right, thank you. I was gonna, anything else from the council? Would we like to hear from the provider?
Good evening, Mayor Gurney and council members. My name is John Corrado, president of Sonoma Garbage. I just wanted to thank you for having us this evening, and thank you for allowing us to serve this great community. I myself was born and raised in Sonoma, went to Presswood, Sonoma High School, played sports growing up. Actually grew up into the business. My grandparents started in 1954. So I grew up in the company, and also got into a lot of community activities. I got involved in Shell Vista Fire Department as a volunteer at 17 years old. Got my EMT, worked at Sonoma Fire for a couple years, and been very involved in the community, which is very important to us. Coaching board of the soccer association. And so I just want, just to share with you that we love the community, we love serving, and, obviously service for us is very important. I want to also introduce Ken Wells. Ken's been with us for quite a few years. Probably a lot of you have seen him. He's been working with the county for over, I think, 20 years. And then just kind of on the lines of, getting re-involved. I was involved with the company till about 04, 05, and then started a different venture. My dad, you can probably still see around town. He's 81 years old and still driving a truck. And he's actually home. He just had some surgery. He's watching tonight. And then John Legnito is our COO. John's been in the industry. His dad, long time recology as well. So we put together quite a team to continue, to the service levels of things that Garth and Mike have spoke about. There's a lot of new regulations that are mandated by the state, and a lot of additional services we're providing for the city. So it's been a lot of work, and I want to thank Mike and Garth for all their work and hard time, and David, because it's been a lot to get into this, and excited to continue that. So thank you again for having us and allowing us to serve the city. We're excited about the new equipment and some zero emission vehicles, and getting that, continuing to get the diversion rates and taking care of our environment. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions while he's standing there? All right, seeing none. Okay, thank you very much. Bring back any public comment.
Hi again, Tom Conlon. So some of you may recall that I've risen the past two contract amendments to actually speak in favor of those amendments, and the urgency of complying with SB 1383. However, tonight, and I appreciate all the information that's in the presentation and the effort that's going into professionalizing garbage services here in the city of Sonoma. However, we've heard this before, that the rate increases are going to be necessary to comply with 1383. And what I am surprised is I don't yet hear tonight any real specifics about how performance is going to be managed and achieved. And I'm concerned because while Mr. Schultz did say that there's no findings of deficiency yet for the city, and that we are not like this. Cal Recycle is not enforcing 1383 against cities, at least those of us who are making efforts. There is a possibility, as I understand it, that the law is pretty strict and could charge the city for failing to meet the 75% diversion threshold. So my concern, and I'd like to have it addressed tonight, hopefully that Mr. Wells or someone from the company can, what is the threshold we're at now? I thought Mr. Wellander asked that question. And is the city facing liability if we fail to meet the S1383 thresholds? Yes, we're buying a lot of compost already, I believe, through the zero waste transfer of fees. How much are we getting back in the city in this giveaway? Is it proportional, or are we largely subsidizing the unincorporated areas, as I suspect is the case? And probably the biggest question is, why is this still a sole source and not going out to bid? I'm kind of surprised that with such a major overhaul of the contract, we didn't consider that. So those are my questions, and I hope that hopefully they can be answered tonight, because I appreciate the local contractor approach, but we ought to be sure we're doing a good job here. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the council.
So it's my understanding that what we're doing tonight is receiving this information and setting a public hearing. Is that correct? And at which point, some of the questions that came up tonight will be answered or addressed in some way, is my guess. So, seeing the heads nodding to the affirmative, I would make a motion to adopt the resolution setting a public hearing regarding adjustments to rates for solid waste utility service for June 19th, 2024, and direct staff to provide notice of public hearing.
All right, we've got a motion. Second?
I can second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
I have comments.
Go.
A friendly amendment,
Okay.
maybe? Because I think the other thing is we're here tonight is to provide direction as well in regards to going forward. And so I actually would like to give the direction that within the contract that there are specifics on how we are actually, looking at the goals that we need to reach, where we're at, how those are going to be addressed, and how the contract's going to be, how we're going to be managing it going forward to see that we're moving towards meeting those goals. So I see that would be a friendly amendment to that.
If I may respond as
Please.
the maker of the motion. Prior to making the motion, I think I asked if the questions that had come up during public comment would be addressed at the public hearing, and I thought I was seeing head nods from that, and that would incorporate the issues that you just raised, Madam Vice Mayor, that I don't think we need to change the recommendation to include the things that you mentioned, because it's a public hearing. There are going to be all those things on there. But I would like to know if that's correct.
I heard you, but I can't hear a head nod.
So I think what I'm hearing is two things. One is to Councilmember Lowe's point, we will come back on the 19th and do a presentation and address all the comments that we receive and some of the comments that we're hearing now. But I think the question we're hearing from Vice Mayor is that can there be language in the agreement that addresses how they're going to track and measure and accomplish these goals? And we can do that. And I think we'll work on that in the agreement to make sure that language is there. I think we have talked about that. I think that's possible to do. So we'll make sure that that's addressed, and we'll explain how we did that on the 19th when that's presented.
So my point being that the motion is just to set the public hearing, basically. So
That's correct. I don't believe you have to amend the motion. We've gotten that feedback and direction. I think
Right.
that's something that we could do. I agree with Councilmember Lowe. The action tonight is to set the meeting and issue the Prop 218 notice.
All right. So we have A motion and a second.
Just
Mr. Wellander.
two comments. One is I absolutely unequivocally love the fact that we have a local company. I mean, we're a small community. We talk about shopping local. Here's a perfect example. And I think the track record has already been expressed in the historic rates. So I see absolutely no reason that we have to go out beyond if we are being proposed meeting the requirements, and they're doing it for a rate that even though it is increasing by 20%. So I think we should practice what we preach, and that's shop local.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? I'm going to call for the vote.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right. Speeding along, item 9.2, appointments to the Design Review Historic Preservation Commission, Parks, Recreation, Open Space Commission, and Traffic Safety Committee.
Oh, here we go.
All right, here we go. So is there any kind of report that needs to be?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. The item before you tonight is to make appointments specifically for the vacant at-large positions on the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission, and the Traffic Safety Committee. As you may recall, earlier this year on March 20th, this council made multiple different appointments to the commissions, with the exception of 4 at-large positions. And those include 2 on the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission, 1 on the Parks and Recreation and Open Space Commission, and then 1 on the Traffic Safety Committee. For tonight, to make this as streamlined as possible, we'll take each commission individually. I'll then pull up a chart reflecting all the eligible applicants for that commission. And once council has had the opportunity to discuss and deliberate, a roll call vote will be required for each affected commission. As a point of order, if there are multiple nominations made, we would take a roll call beginning with the first nominee. So nominees would be voted on in the order of their nomination until a nominee receives a majority vote. And with that, unless you have any questions or comments for me, I'm happy to just dive right in.
Dive right in.
Okay. So the first is the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission. As I stated earlier, there are 2 at-large positions available. I did cross out Julie Goldberg as Councilmember Lowe just made her the direct appointment for her. So as you can see, there are 4 applicants. And the recommendation is to appoint 2 individuals to serve as the at-large members.
Councilmember Lowe.
I would like to nominate Peter Drake.
Is there a second?
I would second that nomination, yes.
All right. Yes. Mr. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Mayor Gurney, do you want to just open all of these up for public comment now, and then we can move forward and not have...
Sure. We are open for public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing none. Are you sure? Okay. All right, we'll continue the process.
So we do have one position left. There were 2 open.
Anybody else?
If we don't have anyone at this point, and I think it's important, I called these people, I gave them a very heavy interview, made sure all these things, checked their references and so forth. But, I don't, if we can wait. I mean, we can bring this back, is that correct? Because I'm not hearing, and I mean, there's people I haven't reached, I could call again and see if we can reach other people, But I would rather, if no one automatically has someone they want to nominate, let's give it a beat and see if next time we have someone. And I think we'll have a quorum, is that correct?
That's correct. And if any positions are unfilled tonight, we will continue those as open until we come back with additional names. We'll have to do the same if we have any resignations between now and then anyway. So we'll continue to bring vacancies forward to council as appropriate.
Okay, shall we move on to the next commission?
Next is the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission. This has one at-large position available. As you can see, we have 6 applications that were received. Staff's recommendation is to appoint one of these individuals to serve as the at-large member.
I nominate Savannah Wellander.
I will have to abstain from participating due to the fact that I know that woman.
Yeah, I was going to nominate someone too. Okay. I'll second that.
Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Well, I have a I don't know how to do this because I have a nomination too.
Yeah, we can vote first. Yeah, you can stay or vote no, and then later, and
I think
you
what
can.
we were supposed to open it up for all nominations, and then we're going to take a vote on the first nominee first, and if that person gets a majority, then that's the end of it. But if that person doesn't, then we would move to the second nominee. So if Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas has a nominee,
Now is the time.
now is the time to do it. But we will take the vote first on the individual who was named previously by Councilmember Ding.
And might I ask through the chair, all of the direct appointments are taken care of, is that what I'm hearing?
Councilmember Ding still has one direct appointment for the Pros Commission.
Okay, so, so there are, Mr. Roush is available if, for potentially a direct appointment, would be the only one on this list at this time.
That is correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilmember Ding. So you can make a direct appointment too.
I think I would like to take this opportunity to direct the appointed Savannah Wellander as the.
You can't
Is
do
possible?
that.
I cannot do that, right?
No, because she's a Valley member.
Okay.
Direct appointments have to be city residents.
I see. Oh, yeah.
Valley.
I forgot this. Yes.
Jeffrey Roush.
Yes. Otherwise, long time ago I point. Yes. I'm sorry. So now, right now, I just nominate Savannah Wellander as at large because she is not living in the city. Yes, I directed, but I haven't found a person yet.
And then, so then I'll make my nomination. Are you ready now? Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's fine. So go ahead and make your nomination.
This is always so much fun. We love this. So I'm going to nominate Lucas Wright, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'll encourage Councilmember Ding to meet with Jeffrey Roush. How's that?
All right, so we have 2 nominations. And was there a second on the second nomination? Lucas Wright? Is there a second?
Lucas Wright. Yeah.
Lucas Wright.
Okay, we have a nomination. Is there a second?
You don't actually need a second for a nomination.
Okay, never mind, I withdraw that. Okay, let's work through it.
All right, for the nomination of Savannah Wellander, Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
No.
Councilmember Wellander. Abstained. Councilmember Ding.
Aye.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 4001.
3-0.
Apologies.
So serious.
All right, so we've got
Because we seated someone, we don't make it to the right
Yes.
nomination.
All right.
Next is the Traffic Safety Committee. We have one at-large position available. In front of you, you can see you have 5 applications received. Staff's recommendation is to appoint one individual to serve as the at-large member.
Is there a nomination?
I'd like to make a nomination to appoint John Newman as the at-large representative for Traffic Safety Committee.
I'll second. Oh, you didn't need that, never mind. Any other nominations? Hearing none.
Councilmember Lowe?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas?
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander?
Yes.
Councilmember Ding?
Aye.
Mayor Gurney?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. And thank you. That item is done.
Thank you.
And thank you, as painful as it was.
That was smooth.
Meeting adjourned.
So I encourage someone